Step, step, step. I opened my eyes. I tried moving my head, but I couldn't. Only my eyes could move. Step, step, step. I looked around. I wasn't in my room. I wasn't in my house. I was in someone else's house. What happened? Why couldn't I move? Step, step, step. The room was quiet. It seemed almost too quiet. Was it night? Was it day? I had no idea. All I knew is that something happened to get me here. Step, step, step. I heard the door creak open. I looked over at it. All I saw was a shadow. The room was dark. The shadow moved closer. Then turned the light on. My fear faded away as I saw them. It was a woman. She had long, messy, jet-black hair in a ponytail, pale skin, a long, white, flowy dress that looked like something a goddess would wear. I guess that would be fitting since she also had a cross necklace on. "Ah, you're finally awake." Her voice was soft and sweet, like a mother talking to her offspring. "Who are you? Where am I? What happened?" She giggled quietly. "I'm Megami, a former nurse. We're just a little ways from town. I don't know exactly what happened. I just know you got hit by a car during the thunderstorm. The hospital was too far away, so I had to take you here." I didn't know how to respond. This was all too much to process at once. "I'll go. You get some rest. Oh, also, you'll be able to move in the morning." She left, closing the door behind her. Maybe all I need is sleep. Hesitantly, I closed my eyes and drifted into slumber. I jumped from my slumber. The storm had woken me up. I could move. I tried to get out of the bed, but it hurt too much. I looked out of the window near the bed. Rays of sunshine were shining through it, but the storm didn't go down from what I last remembered. "Jason?" I looked over at the door where I saw Megami standing there. "How did you—" "I looked at your ID to know who I was dealing with." She gave a sweet smile. I smiled back. She looked out the window and gave a quiet sigh. She then started walking over to the bed I was lying in, not looking away from the window. "Is something wrong?" Her eyes widened and she looked at me, looking completely shocked. I need to grab something. I'll be right back." She bolted out of the room, leaving me completely confused. I waited there for about what seemed like an hour. She was just grabbing something, she said. What would take her so long? Did she forget to come back? Unlikely. There had been a book on the nightstand by me, so I decided to start reading it. The title and author name were both too faded to read. The book looked like it had been over 100 years old. I read it for another hour. Still no Megami. While reading, I had realized that it just kept getting darker and darker. It seemed familiar, but I couldn't figure out why. I continued reading until I heard the door slam open. My eyes darted to the door. Seeing Megami standing there, her hair more messy than before, what looked like mascara dripping from her eyes. She looked like she had just... I don't even know how to explain it. "I am so sorry. I lost track of time and forgot to come back." "It's fine. Now, what did you need to grab?" She paused, her eyes widening. She groaned and left the room again while profusely apologizing. I shrugged and kept reading. Another hour passed. The book I had been reading was no novel. It was more an informational book, like one of those fake mythology books with the plastic as dragon scales that you can feel. I flipped back to the cover, using my finger to keep my page. It seemed as if the words had become less faded. I could actually read them slightly. I saw 2 words as the title, at least, I think. There were only a few letters of the words that I could see. SOLATRS. Soul-arters? What words could those end up being? I looked where the author's name would be. Nothing. I decided to go back into the book. For some reason, it never directly named what it was about. This was an informational book. Why doesn't it? I shrugged it off and continued. Those letters kept racing through my head. S, O, space, L, double space? Missing beginning letter maybe. A, T, space, R, S. I jumped as Megami rushed through the door, panting. She had walked over to the bed slowly and put down a bottle of purple, almost shiny liquid, and a small cup on the nightstand. What is that? Medicine. It'll help with the pain. She grabbed a bottle and poured a good amount into the cup and handed it to me. I took the cup and quickly drank the liquid. It tasted strange. It was a taste I couldn't explain. Definitely something I had never tasted before, nor wanted to. She put the cup back onto the nightstand, along with the bottle. The medicine took a few minutes to take effect, but when it did, it definitely did its job. I thought for a moment. A question came to my mind that I knew I should have asked earlier. When am I going to be able to leave? When the storm stops and the pain fully goes away. I want to make sure you'll be okay getting home. She then left seconds after replying. I tried to believe her. I just couldn't. I don't know why, but I couldn't trust her. I didn't continue reading after she left. I thought about those letters constantly, lying my head onto the pillow beneath me. SOLATRS. I thought about the contents of the book, trying to connect the letters to it. My eyes widened as I realized what it most likely had said. Soul Eaters. I grabbed the book again and looked at the title. There it said clearly, Soul Eaters, and nothing else. Why would she have a book about soul eaters? I looked through the book. It now continuously mentioned the so-called soul eaters. So many thoughts raced through my head, so many questions. I had no one to ask right now. I stared at the cover, scared and shocked. The things I read in it didn't make it any better. I blinked a few times to make perfectly sure it said what I thought it did. It didn't change. I hesitantly opened the book again and continued reading to see what else I could find. Nothing too concerning was found in the book. Just a few things about it that were, well, obvious. As I kept reading, I noticed that there were what looked like blood splatters on the pages. My heart began racing and I quickly flipped each page. There were more blood splatters on each page. With each new blood splatter, there were less and less words on the page. I flipped each page faster and faster until I reached the last 3. Don't. I flipped the page. Trust. I flipped it to the last one slowly. Megami. Don't trust Megami. What? I stared at the blood-covered page, fear coursing through my veins. After 5 minutes, I slowly closed the book. My eyes widened as I saw the cover again. The brown cover was now a dark red, made even darker by the fresh blood stains. I looked at the bottom of the cover. Don't trust Megami Felita. I opened the book again. First page said the same thing as the cover. I flipped through it quickly, the blood splatters fresh and dripping down each page. Each page told me not to trust her. I got to the last page again. I was about to close it once more, but I saw that it had said, Look up. My eyes shot up from the book, landing on Megami standing there. Her eyes were now black with dark red pupils, black liquid pouring from her eyes. Her smile was now filled with blood-stained fangs, blood dripping from them. I quickly threw the book down and shot up from the bed. My hands were covered in the blood from the book now. I had never been more terrified. Jason. She slowly lurched toward me, her hands out in front of her. Please. Her voice was now echoey and strained. Get away from me, you monster! She fell down onto her knees. Please. I felt slightly upset for her, but I knew what she wanted. I stared down at her. She tried to grab onto me, but was too weak. Don't Leave me. She sounded so desperate. I couldn't give in. The book had said that soul eaters had a tendency to beg like what Megami was doing. The person they were begging usually gave in from how they acted. I couldn't trust her. I began shaking as I looked down at her. I'm sorry. The black liquid dripped onto the ground. It looked almost watery now. She was crying. I slowly walked up to her and sat down in front of her. She looked up at me, the smile gone. I put my hand on her cheek and rubbed it. I'm sorry, I whispered. I put my hand underneath the bed and pulled out a bottle of holy water. Her eyes widened in fear. No! 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 She yelled, her voice still strained. I can't take any risks. I opened the bottle. Before I poured it on her, I hugged her. She cried into my shoulder. Please forgive me. I let go of her and poured it on her. The holy water burned into her flesh. She let out a strange screech from the pain. I stood up and looked down at her. She wasn't bad, but I had to. I watched her melt from the water. She ripped off the cross necklace and threw it at me. I caught it and looked at it. I looked back at her and sighed. Goodbye, Megami. I put the necklace on and walked out of the house. She screeched my name as I walked away. It was so hard to hear. It was the only thing I could have done. I still regret it today.